Today AMD, NASDAQ, AMD, has launched its new Ryzen 7 5800 by 3D, its latest mainstream desktop CPU, set to retail for $449, that promises a significant leap in gaming performance compared to the existing Ryzen 7 5800X. In this review of the Ryzen 7 5800 by 3D, we'll be looking at performance numbers for the new CPU in games and content creation to see how it stacks up against Intel's Core i9-12900K and the Ryzen 7 5800X. This is first and foremost the CPU for gamers. It's most definitely not for anyone that wants to overclock their CPU either, as the CPU doesn't support it. The 3dB cache allows for lower latencies and a real lift to performance in situations where the CPU can boost frame rates. This won't be everywhere, as it depends on the game itself, the resolution and graphics settings, but even at 1080p with a fairly modest graphics card such as the RTX 3070, you'll see differences between CPUs. Its key feature is 3dB cache, a stacked portion of cache that boosts the amount of cache considerably compared to its sister CPU, the Ryzen 7 5800X. Apart from this, the Ryzen 7 5800 by 3D is largely the same as the standard CPU, except to deal with a large amount of extra cache, AMD has had to rein in the frequencies. That might sound like a bad idea, but it's banking on the 3dB cache more than making up for this in many, but not all, situations. As a result, though, the Ryzen 7 5800 by 3D is actually a touch slower than the Ryzen 7 5800X in terms of frequencies. The latter can hit 4.7 GHz peak boost frequency, while the Ryzen 7 5800 by 3D is 200 MHz slower at 4.5 GHz. You'll need a 400 or 500 series chipset motherboard to take advantage of the Ryzen 7 5800 by 3D from the outset, but AMD has stated that 300 series chipsets will be receiving BIOS updates to allow them to support the Ryzen 5000 series too. Check with your motherboard webpage to confirm compatibility. AMD has utilized what it calls hybrid bond 3D interconnects, a two-step bonding between dielectric layers to create stacked layers of components, in this instance, the extra cache directly on top of a Ryzen core complex.